Hello everyone. Welcome to Confessions Jury, where people put themselves on the spot, waiting for your judgment. Sit comfortably and listen carefully, as you're about to hear today's cases. You hold the hammer and you apply the law. Let us have your verdict down in the comments section. As always, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Let's head on to our first case. Case 1. Am I the bad person for kicking my childhood friend and her kids out of my home? I, F39, had a school friend growing up, Alicia, F39. We were very close until years ago, when I decided to distance myself because she was taking advantage of me. She wouldn't reciprocate my favors and used tricks to get me to pay for her food, like forgetting her wallet or claiming to be flat broke while not telling me that she found a new job. It wasn't just me. She lost another 2 long friendships during a road trip for the same reason. I have built a solid life for myself. My kids are healthy, I drive a good car and have a nice home. She and I accidentally ran into each other, and she started texting again. We did have phone calls and met for coffee, and she seemed to have changed a lot. I was even glad to see her. This new stage in our friendship lasted for 3 years, no incidents. Last December, I let her stay over because she was waiting for her new place to be available. We agreed it would be for only 4 days. Then she started moving the date. I started getting both pissed and worried because after another 5 days, she began to refuse to get up when I approached her. I would go to work and she stayed in bed. She developed a habit of curling up and clicking her tongue to show me that she was super sleepy, but it felt intentional. It happened every time that I tried to wake her up. There was an incident in which I went to her guest bed and she called me a *itch. I know she was half asleep, but as a friend, I was put off. She did things that frankly enraged me, like taking too long to be fully awake and stretching her arms like she was super sleepy. In the meantime, I had to tend to her kids. I had a talk with her and she admitted that she didn't get Christmas presents for them. I bought some presents because despite the circumstances, they are just kids and it's not their fault. She promised to leave by the 23rd, and she didn't. It may not sound like a big deal, but I was seething because I had to do all the gift openings with my kids while she was still there, and I felt invaded. Every time that I brought up the subject of her new place, she acted grouchy and closed off. I asked her to leave, and she said yes, but I never saw anything happening. I had my plumber come over early in the morning and turn off the breakers and the main water passage. Her kids woke her up to complain about not being able to plug their electronics. She complained, but I told her to pack her bags because I would be going out of town and would solve the utilities when I could. I made her load her bags into her car, and once she was gone, I fixed the utilities back. I didn't hear from her, so I stopped feeling paranoid and thinking that she would try to drop by. I got a DM from one of her friends days ago. That person is in my contacts because we were friendly and used to comment on Alicia's wall posts. The message was unpleasant and harsh. I was called insensitive and a snob and was told that Alicia was forced to move to a place without any furniture because I decided to kick her out despite having a lot of space. I know my reply was rude. I said, "Go wash your ass," and they blocked me. I also blocked Alicia, but I can't deny that I feel bad. Am I the bad person? What do you guys think? Lay down your ruling in the comments section and let's move on to our next story. Case 2. Am I the bad person for not immediately confronting my brother-in-law over his tattoo and asking him to leave my house? I, 26F, was recently visited by my husband's 2 sisters, their partners, and their 2 children as they live about 6 hours away and were staying with family near us on their way to a camping weekend and spent the day with us before moving on. My BIL is my polar opposite and to an extent, his wife, husband's sister, though she mostly keeps her views to herself and on a surface level we seem to have a lot of common ground, but in the same breath, we don't, because of who she chose to marry and his views. She's just not as likely to raise things like that in a family setting, politics, religion, etc. BIL owns his own company and has been warned by friends/family not to promote his political views on his work vehicles. They're all Republican. a couple of years ago and made a big deal about it before ultimately deciding not to, but it's still something brought up to this day that he was silenced, and that anyone who would deny his service over politics was stupid, amongst other not-so-nice things. Despite all of this, we've maintained a surface-level relationship as we don't talk directly to each other, no reason to, honestly, not for any particular reason, and when we see each other in person he's actually quite nice to talk to, and we've had a good laugh together. In the 8 years I've been in the family, I boiled it down to being in the South. I'm originally from a less religious country, and that it was just how parts of America were, and not once have I heard him make racist statements in my presence. This changed during the visit when he unveiled that he had bought a tattoo gun from Amazon and had tattooed a small but very distinctive swastika on his upper thigh. He obviously did it with the intent that technically it would always be covered and no one would know, but I guess he felt the need to show us and let us in on it. I didn't say anything in the moment. My husband and I spoke quietly about it in the kitchen and decided it wasn't worth ruining the visit over, as we wanted to see the children. However, when they left, my SIL messaged me only a few hours later that she noticed our reactions and wanted to make sure everything was okay. We hadn't discussed what we were going to do going forward yet, but I guess I decided for us that I would broach the topic and tell her that I'm not comfortable with her husband visiting our house anymore, and that any visits down their way, we would be civil, but we would not stay with them for the visit, and it would mostly be about her, the children, and my other SIL. She got very upset over text with me and seemed mostly hung up on if we had such a problem with it. Why didn't we say anything in the moment? I argued that we didn't want to escalate it despite feeling guilty for being a bystander in a way to it all. I don't think that it would have been right in front of the children either, and honestly I really didn't think that anyone I would be associated with would do something like that. I'm not worried that I was in the wrong for essentially setting boundaries and cutting ties, but I always thought that I would be able to confront something like this directly when I saw it, and I ultimately didn't. Am I the bad person for waiting for them to leave? What do you guys think of this one? Let us know in the comments section, and let's move on to our next story. Case 3. Am I the bad person for not wanting to host my friend's wedding at my farm? I own this small farm that I inherited from my grandparents. It's a really beautiful place, rolling hills, a big red barn, a cozy little garden, and just lots of charm. I've always loved it, and people who visit always comment on how perfect it is for events like weddings or parties. My friend Emma has been one of those people, and for years, she's joked about how she'd get married here someday. I honestly thought it was just that, a joke. But a couple of months ago, Emma got engaged, and guess what? She asked if she could actually have her wedding at my farm. At first, I thought it was sweet and said I'd think about it. I mean, it's my friend's wedding, and I didn't want to be the bad guy who crushed her dream. But as we started talking about what she wanted, things kind of went off the rails. Emma's vision isn't just some small, cute, backyard-style wedding. She's planning this huge event with over 200 guests, a full catering service, live music, and, oh, a ton of decor. She wants the place to look like it's straight out of Pinterest or a bridal magazine. She also suggested making changes to the farm to fit her vision. And when I say changes, I don't mean just moving a few chairs around. She wants to level part of the field to create space for a dance floor and parking, trim down some trees to improve the views, and even put down gravel paths so the venue will be wheelchair accessible for some of her guests. When she told me all this, I was honestly shocked. Like, I get it's her big day, but this is my home. The idea of turning my peaceful farm into a full-blown construction site just didn't sit right with me. I told her I wasn't comfortable with the modifications and suggested maybe having a smaller, simpler ceremony if she still wanted to use the space. I thought this was a reasonable compromise. But Emma wasn't happy. She said I was being selfish and ruining her dream wedding. She even implied that since I inherited the farm, I should feel lucky to have it and more willing to share it for something this important. That kind of stung, to be honest. It's not just about the changes to the property, though. Logistically, hosting a wedding this big would be a nightmare. My farm isn't equipped for events like this. I'd need permits, extra insurance, a plan for parking, and a way to deal with the inevitable mess and damage that would follow. And where would my animals go? I'd have to board them somewhere else for days, maybe weeks. It's just too much. Emma keeps saying it would save her so much money compared to renting a proper venue, and as her friend, I should be happy to help. But it feels like she's asking way more than what's reasonable. I don't want to spend months fixing my property or stressing about legal stuff because of someone else's wedding. I feel a little guilty, but at the same time, I think Emma's asking for way too much. Am I the bad person for saying no to hosting her wedding? You've sat down, you've listened. Now, it's time to state your ruling. What is it gonna be? Let us have it down in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more cases like these. In life, we may run, but we can never hide from true justice. Stay safe, everyone.